to, but we. But did you get to watch? Did you? I'm assuming you got to watch The Last of Us.
I
We're
did.
discussing
Quick
The Last of Us episode 5.
5.
Yeah, we only got 2 more, and we know what 6 is going to be, right?
Yes, I mean 6 is a flashback episode.
Which I'm wondering. I mean, like, not to like just kind of jump into the conversation here, but we've never gotten a Eugene
That's
episode.
what I said. I said that last night. I literally turned to Sarah. I was like, so next week has to be the Eugene episode.
Right, like, is that part of the, like, because I guess we should just go ahead and just dive right
Wait,
into
hold
it.
on. I want to match you. So here we go. All right. There we go.
Yeah, our eight game winning series, which I'm sure because me wearing this will come to a screeching halt tonight. So
Listen, that is my favorite logo. I was gonna say that. And powder blue is my favorite. So I'm gonna get that and we're gonna be twins.
mine actually is the Angry Bird. I got
I
the
like
Angry
that
Bird
one.
in the back of my truck. That's my, like, we're completely just in going
Yeah,
on.
there.
But it doesn't matter because The Last of Us episode 5, basically it opens with you find out that there is a hospital that the WLF is holding up in, and long story short, they sent some people to investigate a lot of these floors. They find out the bottom floors have airborne spores, which you do then find out that one of the members had sacrificed her son to, which is in the complete opposite as what Joel did.
Yeah.
Is, like, she
Yes.
was willing to sacrifice her son for the betterment of the WLF community in that
Yes.
hospital. And, on the flip, Joel was not willing to sacrifice Ellie. Again, it's great because it's moral. I don't want to say moral ambiguity, but it basically just kind of, there's no right answer,
Right.
you know?
Because there
So,
was no guarantee that the cure would have worked. The
right,
only guarantee is that Ellie would have died.
right. And so they decide, WLF decides to board up the level B1, 2, and 3. I believe it's 1, 2, and 3 that they left, which is the basement of this hospital. That flash forward that you find out that Ellie and Danny have discovered that Nora is at least in, and that they're going to go track down Nora and get the whereabouts on Abby. So, with some handy dandy triangulation by Danny, she figures out the path. The best path is through this building that, for some reason, the WLF and the scars. I don't even know if they've been triangulating the scars as much as they've
I
just been
don't
the WLF.
think so.
They
Yeah.
don't have radio communication. So they go through this building, they head out. Things in the building go badly. Just on the verge of death. Boom, Jesse pops out, shotgun blasts people. They take off through the woods. That's when they run into the scars, Seraphites, find a man, watch their ritual on how they handle the WLF members next. And Danny gets shot in the leg. And because they split up, and instead of taking off towards Danny and Jesse, like she told them she would meet up, she sees the hospital and makes a beeline for that because overrides her love for Danny, actually is her need for revenge. So she
Yes.
to the hospital.
Sometimes I have comments about that, but yes.
Right. Heads to the hospital where she encounters Nora, confronts her. Nora takes off running, basically is kind of calls Joel a bitch and takes off running. And ends, I'm not sure if she's willing to and her decision to head for the basement is more of a decision to, I'm not only gonna kill me, but you at the same time, because she's not aware that Ellie is the girl that was aware of until, that. So I'm kind of wondering if she was willing to die, like if she can take Ellie to the basement, not knowing she's immune, take Ellie to the basement and have them both killed. Ellie can't find Abby, right?
I don't think she knew that the spores were airborne because the one chick had said we can't, like, it's need to
Oh, that's
know
right. We can't
only.
find. We can't tell anybody else. Okay, very good point. But that was like mine was like, oh, she's
Yeah.
here.
I think it was that whole thing, like when you're running for your life and the person always runs up, and I'm always like, why do you run up? Because
Right.
eventually, like, that ends.
But I will also say, and we can discuss this later, is if she sees something completely barricaded, why would your instinct be go to? So she knew something was up. They have to know something was up with the basement.
Yes, yes.
Heads into the basement. She, zigzag through. Ellie finds out that there's spores. Basically, these people are being used as human generators for this fungus. Like we find the son, I believe I think was his name, Leon,
Hmm.
kind of basically hooked up to, and he breathes in oxygen and breathes out spores. So they're basically just being used as batteries for the
Yeah,
fungus. She comes across Nora, who is obviously reeling from having ingested this
that
heroin.
works quick.
Yes, very quick. And confronts Ellie on the fact that kind of thinks she's laying out why they killed Joel.
Yeah,
And with Ellie with a simple 2 words says, I know. And you kind of gotten the sense of that
yeah,
through the first couple episodes in Jackson that the kids they were just not getting along. That either she had an inkling or she knew. But I think what we're left with is whether or not Joel knew for sure, Ellie knew, and just didn't want to ask because he did not want to confront that. He
right.
anti her.
Because he did lie to her, and the thing she asked him at the end of the first game and season of the show was, "Don't lie to me," and she like really stressed that.
Right.
So, yeah,
Right. So then Nora realizes, oh, you are the one, not to be confused with the one that the Seraphites, the prophet, which I don't
right,
think we'll ever see until at least season 3, or at least find out what's going on.
yeah,
And at that point, Ellie takes on the role of Abby and starts beating Nora's legs, which is very ironic because, like, how did she know? She didn't know that Abby started beating his legs first because she hadn't arrived at that point. She just
right.
arrived before the. So, very funny that these 2 women on separate yet equal paths choose the same way to, like,
Yeah,
legs. And you kind of ends there. Well, actually, it ends with her waking up, not current day Ellie, but past day Ellie, wakes up very sweetly, says hi to Joel,
yes,
which I think is made to make you think, how did she go from that sweet young girl to I am now going to torture my victims, my revenge with like zero compunction on like what she was doing.
yeah.
Go. Initial thoughts.
It was a quick episode, a lot of action. I thought it was good. We got some development because I know I had mentioned last week that a lot was happening, but the story hadn't moved forward. Now they are progressing forward. Jesse is now involved. They have now come across some living Seraphites because up until that point, they had only seen the dead Seraphites in the woods and then the dead wolf agents that they hung. They're now seeing them. I thought, at this point, they know Seattle, the wolf knows that they have intruders. Last week, they got away with it because the guys that were chasing them all died in that train station. So for all they know, they were chasing Seraphites. Now when they were chasing them out of the abandoned building, they like, okay, they're not, we don't know who they are, but they're not scars. When she's in the hospital and Nora's running, it's like, we have an intruder, we have an intruder. They start shooting, they can tell it's not a scar. So Seattle knows they're there now. I thought it was a good action-packed episode. I have a lot. My one, well, issues. I know for the plot you have to talk about it, or you have to do it, but kind of like you were saying, when you run past the elevator and it's all sealed up, that means you don't go in there. When Dina is mapping and triangulating where the wolf is going, and she's like, they avoid this building. Why do they avoid it? I don't know, but we have to go through it. I kind of paused it and was like, here's the thing. When there is an armed militia that is highly trained that is avoiding a specific building, you don't go in there. At this point, clearly, they didn't really say it, but the reason why that building was sealed off sounds like is because Wolf ran into the smart infected and they were like, hey, we're out of our depth. Let's just seal this one off and leave it alone. Regardless, if a trained militia is avoiding a whole building, you two girly pops do not need to be going in there. So that one, and again, I get it for the story, like they had to, but I would have just taken the law, like I would have found another way.
So,
Um,
right up against the building.
right, right. something, but I am not setting foot in a building that a militia is avoiding. And obviously, we see why, because it is the smart ones. Um, and then my other quick thought about it is my biggest complaint from last week. You are in a new city on a revenge tour. You've got two different factions fighting over this territory, again, that you have never been to, along with the infected. There's just too much of Ellie and Dina not being in the right mindset to me. And as I said last time, I get it that in the first season, you had Joel and Ellie in their kinder moments because they had a lot of windshield time as they were traveling across the country. We didn't really get that with Ellie and Dina this time because they kind of fast forwarded to like they're leaving Wyoming, hey, they're in Seattle. So they're trying to add that character development and show us the closeness of them. But to me, I just feel like if I am in a brand new city trying to kill the person that killed my father figure, brutally killed my father figure, and there's two factions that are fighting each other along with the infected, who almost got me multiple times in the last 48 hours. I'm not sitting here cracking jokes about this, that, and the third. I just feel like there's just a little too much of that for me.
Character, but as far as maybe relationship building and
Yeah, like that now is not the time. There's a time and a place. And again, like we said last week, this is not me hating on their relationship. I wish them nothing but happiness in this apocalypse. But the moments that you are trying to build that relationship, to me, just doesn't fit with what you're supposed to be doing, with what you are doing.
would you say, I would say this though, the story that Danny tells about her family probably let us as the audience know, I mean, and her relationship to Ellie is you understand how easy it was for her to come along with Ellie on the trip.
Yeah, for sure.
And it kind of does give you an insight as to her closeness to like us as the audience. Her like I think that's more, I mean, like that might just be me, more world relationship character building than some of the other things that some of their other interactions that they
Yeah.
had. Because that to me was very much she gives the story and then says if I had walked, which they even the creators of the show say her use of the word if says to her, I'm afforded the privilege of just kind of wondering, like hypothetically putting myself in your situation. I haven't had to go through what you've gone through. So because of that, I'm doing this, like
Yeah.
I can only imagine like the horror and the terror that you've gone through and seeing this and seeing it happen. So that's why I'm here. I thought it was really good too because it was like, she kind of called around and was like, you never did ask me on my
Yeah, I noticed her call that out and I was like, "Oh, like like I thought that was good, and like that's a very good point. And it did add some depth to Dina, and it kind of shows why she's ready to go
right.
and all down for that. And I do think that was important, and I think that's great. And as you said last week, Dina is the reason that Ellie is still alive right now because she has been the more level-headed of the two this whole time. Um, except for the whole going into the abandoned warehouse part. I think she's the one that's like, what's in your backpack? How are you doing this? How do you plan on getting there? And yeah, you can see that she has had a lot of what if time over the years to think about that and shows how she got to this point. I think honestly, I think that story, dialogue, statement, whatever she gave, did add a lot of good and needed character development and shows why she's willing to keep going while being pregnant.
Oh, exactly right. Like this is like I can only like I have same kind of went through the same experience, but not to the extent that you have. And I know how I would have felt about it.
Right.
There's not even a question. I would have hunted this man to the end of the earth, to the
Yeah.
end of the earth. Which I think is kind of also lets us know as the audience, like, regardless of, I know the game makes you play as Abby and makes you sympathize with her. It kind of lets us know as the audience, like, you're not crazy for
Right.
thinking they're crazy for wanting revenge at all costs, because you do start to think, okay, well, what if it had happened to me? You know, I mean,
Yeah.
like you do think of it from Abby's point of view. It's like, would you have gone to that extent to track down the guy? It's the same thing. I mean, they're all doing the same thing. They've all experienced violence from someone else, and how would they handle their reaction to it?
Yeah.
Pretty much it seems like it's a raw right now. Everybody
Yeah. Everybody.
same way. Like there's no doubt about it. It's like it, yeah. And then Jesse just kind of shows up out of nowhere. I mean, I appreciate like I appreciate it. I thought it was a little too on the nose to
Too
have
ex machina for you.
a little too on the nose to have him show up at the moment that they were pretty much both
They were
going
done
down.
for. Yeah.
Right? And you know, all of a sudden, I do appreciate his just absolute like he didn't hesitate in rescuing them, but he also made it very known. I'm pissed. I
Yes.
don't want to talk to you. Like this is not, oh, we're so happy and all of us hug and we have our moment in the woods. It's I don't want to have like you don't understand what you leaving has done to the community, what us having to leave to come and get you has done for the community. Like he took his role as the one of those committee board members very seriously, and he
Yes.
had to break kind of his own oath. So it's like
For sure.
I appreciate Jesse like being not just like again like this big hug moment. Like it was you have no idea like the level of just I'm so angry I have to be here right now. Kind of like
Yes.
when a kid runs into the street, how a parent just like loses their mind at the
Yes. That's, that's
like,
exactly what it is.
you
Yeah.
have no idea how much I could beat you. Just
Yeah.
like if that car hadn't almost killed you, I will. You know, kind of thing.
Right. No, and it was funny that how they found him or how he found them because in the last episode, I said, you're leaving the guitar out. Like, I don't know if that was just for the cinematic shot when they kind of lingered on it, but I was like, someone could see that and realize that someone pulled it out. And then when they were mapping out and doing all that stuff, I remember thinking, I hope they cover their tracks because Wolf is clearly patrolling the streets, and it stands to reason that they will go into some buildings. And
Right.
I remember thinking, like, man, I really hope they put their stuff away. And then when Jesse said that's how he found them, I chuckled to myself because I was like, that thought did cross my mind. Like, I really hope in between all of your little conversations about this and that, you covered your tracks because again, like it goes back to my critique of like you're in a brand new city with people, a trained militia, you guys are being just a little cavalier with your emotions and it just you're lacking the seriousness that I would have expected from you guys, which is why the thought of man, I really hope you cover your tracks, and that's how Jesse found them.
Just hilarious because it's not like you left candy wrappers up. You left the map.
The map, your whole plan.
Right? Like he was like, oh, it wasn't like some WLF members like stumbled across some bedding, or even Jesse stumbled across some bedding and like some beef jerky. Right?
Right.
It's like here's the map and the arrow to where we will be
Yeah.
specifically.
Yeah, at 7:31 p.m. we are going to be right here. Circle this X marks the spot. Like, yeah, you left your whole thing, and yeah, I think obviously that is for the plot, that part of it.
Right.
But like I said in the last episode where they went in and she like played the guitar for a little bit, she was drumming. Fine, we just escaped death, and now I'm telling you we're pregnant and I'm gonna be a dad, and then we get intimate and all of this. I'm like, you guys almost died. And then you wake up and you're joking about trigonometry and all of this, and I'm just like, I'm not getting the revenge tour vibes that I thought I would be getting from you. And I realized like you can't just be stone faced killer all the time because you then like you just become a one-dimensional character. But as like I think having survived an apocalypse, I was like, I would have thought that they would have been better about things or been more serious in certain things. Because it's like when Abby and them got to the lodge and they were overlooking the town. They were all like locked in. They weren't cracking jokes. They were like, "This is the plan. This is what we're doing. we got to sneak in, we got to do this, even though the plan was going to fail. But like they were locked in, and I just feel like Abby and them. I mean, clearly they're surviving, but just the conversations and dialogue, I'm like, I want it to be just a little bit more serious.
Seems loosey goosey for the
Yeah, just a bit.
escape the WLF members seeing that they got or that they got or that they're dealing with their own drama
Right.
with a whole other group of people that you haven't come across yet. You did kind of come across their dead bodies
Yeah.
on the trail,
On
and
the
then you
trail.
kind of came across how they
Yeah.
like. You need to be a little bit more serious about this. Like, oh,
Just a
I'm
bit.
scared. Like, I don't know if I could crack a joke. Like, I would be like, we need to bust into a pharmacy and get some Depends because I'm gonna be pissing my pants. Like,
That's what I'm saying. Like that is where I thought I would be because like you've got yeah, like you're in a brand new city. So it's not like, oh, I'm familiar with this place. You've never been to this place. Like that's step one. You've seen what either side of this turf war will do to the other side. That should be scaring you. Then you've got the infected, and even though Dina didn't know about them until now, or I guess she knew about them, but she didn't think it was that big of a deal. Abby, in the back of her mind, should have been like, "Oh yeah, also the infected like are smart now." Like,
right,
there's all these different things that you'd think there are just one too many jokes being cracked.
right.
But
Which when now, like, how well, how did you feel about the opening, the finding out about the spores? There,
I thought that was a great scene. I forget the actress's name, the actor's name, the not the lady that who sacrificed her son, but the other one. I forget her name, but I've seen her in so many different things. She was the one that Isaac
right,
talked to that episode, but she's so great and everything. But that was chilling, like hearing that story and kind of seeing it and her response to it, like you did the right thing and all of that. I go back to what we said last week. If I find out they're airborne, like I'm jumping off a bridge. Like that is when I tap out. I am not fighting this. I'm done. I also like I know you don't want to lose the hospital, but at some point it's like, no, you got to set that building on fire and just cut your losses because there is no you can't combat that. Your gas masks only last you for so long.
I find it a little weird that they didn't like. I don't know what the means of dumping flammable liquid down a shaft and lighting it up. Like,
Yeah,
I'm no engineer here, but like, I'm
right.
like, we didn't like send those when she sent her son and that group down, like, here's some flamethrowers or here's some bombs to set off if you find yourself. Let's do contingency plans. I think we feel like there's like a lack of contingency plans and like everything. It's like when you go down there and if things go bad, because you always have to assume in this infected world. I don't know if it's just the infected country, infected world that you're living in, there is always an opportunity, like the girls in that abandoned warehouse, whatever, that these things are going to go bad. Like,
Yeah.
what is your contingency plan? Oh, well, I'm just gonna lock myself down there. Well, how about that you had some grenades on you?
Yeah, maybe they didn't. Well, they had to have had grenades, but maybe because the spores acted so fast, they didn't have time to decide what to do. But you would think his mom, I know you're still in shock, but you would think after a few days, you guys would be like, okay, like we're gonna unseal it really quick and throw a bunch of grenades on there. I'm curious on their reasoning for keeping it a secret and keeping it need to know, because it's not like somebody betrayed somebody. Like
Right,
this is just the infected evolving. To me, that like people should know this.
right.
What are you gonna do? I don't know, which is again, that's why I said I'm tapping out. But like you would think, hey, they're airborne now. We should go talk to Isaac or talk to people and be like, we need to like it'll be a uncomfortable conversation. But I am curious why they feel the need to keep it a secret right now. And
Yeah,
also, the people that do know, why are you still in the hospital? Like, I would be getting as far away as possible from that building.
like she says it's too valuable of a location. We can't. She's like, we can't lose the hospital. It's too valuable of a location, which 100% I understand. I don't know if like they still have their group of doctors trying to find, know that they don't have an immune girl to work with, if they're still working somewhat on just anything they can find. And but I'm like, you don't know if this airborne spreads So again,
We sealed it. Not good enough. Not good enough.
right, like people got in and nobody thought why is I mean like did they just assume it's just infected down there?
That is ground zero as well, apparently. Like that's where the first infected patients were taken is Seattle.
Okay.
So like from what the context they said in the show, and then from what I've read online, there are debating rumors, but a lot of people are saying that that hospital is where like the very, very, very first patients were taken. And I think someone did say in one of the levels there is in that hospital, there is like a super what was the big blob that almost killed Tommy?
It was a bloater.
A bloater. There's like a super bloater apparently in the hospital basement, and that is
Yes.
like patient zero. Like that is the first one.
Yeah. I don't know if there because they said that there is a I didn't know if they called it BL3 or they just called it B3. I can't remember how they referred to it, the levels. Um, but the show creators talked about that there is something on B3, BL3 that I don't know if they're gonna see. I mean, they might give a hint of it, very, very last episode, but there is something from, I mean, like again, all this is findable online. These are not spoilers because we don't know to what extent they're going to use it for the show, but there is something called the Rat King.
Yes, the Rat King. That is his name. That
Yeah.
is supposedly it's patient zero.
And it's also other infected that
Yeah, just
they
it's
have
like
lumped
yeah, like a
to a
Voltron Power
huge,
Ranger suit just pulled them all
like
in.
Voltron, like
Yes.
off on the head kind of thing. Um, yeah, so that's down there. But whether or not I would assume they're going to use that because I
I
would
think
think
it's too big of a
right.
like you would think the creators, the costume people, everyone involved would want
Mhm.
to see the Rat King. Like the creators of the show
Right.
would want to put that in. Like, no, we have to do this.
And I kind of wondered, because I don't know the chronology of the game. If does she ever see that? Does she
I'm
see
trying to
it?
remember if Ellie's the one that fights it or if that's an Abby storyline. I don't remember. Like I said, I watched a playthrough of the second game, and most of that playthrough I was watching on my phone and kind of just like looking up. So like there's bits and pieces that I'm remembering from The Last of Us
We've
Part
got to
Two.
at the end of this episode, she's beating Nora, who's
Yes.
probably been beaten to death. I don't know if she ever gives up her Abby's location, but I'm assuming she's not going to live very long, breathing the spores and getting beat at the same
Right.
time.
Right.
So I mean, I can't see that going very well. But I'm like, she's I don't I don't know if it's too much to say. I don't know if she'll come across Abby by the end of the season.
I don't think she will. I think Abby will figure out who is because like I said, at this point they know that someone is there,
Right.
and
And
that
at this point, she's in the hospital. They know she's in the hospital.
exactly.
And I don't like, did she leave open the door to get to the basement? Now the spores are weak. I forget what it's
The guard said, "Oh, oh shoot, the elevator was open. Seal it." So as far as they're concerned, Nora and the intruder are dead. They sealed them in there.
So they resealed it in
So they
there.
resealed it. They're probably going to radio to Isaac and whoever. Like, yeah, there was an intruder and one of our own. There was an open. Well, I don't know if he'll know because I don't know if he's on the need to know list yet. But the two women at the beginning, they will be informed.
Right.
And like, well, we sealed them all in there. Like, oh well, dang, we lost Nora and the intruder,
Right.
and they'll kind of. I don't want to say just move on from it, but at some point you have to. I think at the end of this season I mean, obviously Ellie gets out. Like it's sealed, but Ellie gets out of there somehow.
Like, does she? Does she run into the Rat King before she gets does she have her encounter with him?
But there's no way Ellie's gonna take on the Rat King by herself. I mean, like technically in the game.
Or just the like a little loot because like it seems like does she I mean again it's I don't know how much of this we're gonna get it how much of we're going to get of present day Ellie in episode 6. I don't know.
Right. I think it'll be like a whole flashback episode, and the final 5 minutes will bring us
Right.
back to present day.
which is like, right. I mean, there's just like all this stuff. And again, I know that with there being a season 3, we shouldn't be, we're not going to be guaranteed anything by season 2, like,
Right.
you can't be guaranteed anything by the time they come to this finale. Because I mean, it's like House of the Dragon, like, we know things are coming, but it's like with extra seasons, you never know quite where they're going to
Right. You
sit
never know where the line is, where they're going to stop or what they're going to hint at or
for the
show.
end of the season, right? So it's like, the things that are up in the air are, just seeing Tommy again,
Yes.
for letting them know about the spores, or getting out of the hospital, the Rat King, Abby, or I think are there a couple other people that she comes across as far as the Abby gang before she ever gets to Abby?
I believe so. I think the other two people get thrown in there as not sacrifices, but Abby is the final boss. So it's like you have to go through the other minions before you get to Abby.
She's the Mike Tyson of the Mike Tyson bunch.
Right.
Right. Yeah,
Yeah.
so we don't know exactly where we're at as far as this. Like, if you want to compare it to that game, we don't know what level we're on right now.
Right. Exactly.
We know Mike Tyson is there at the end. We just don't know who we're fighting right now.
Yes.
Yeah. So overall, what would you have given the episode? What do you think the episode is? Or do you have any final thoughts and your last?
Okay, so my final thoughts are thank you for giving us more action because I do know one of my friends who watches the show texted me and was like, dude, what like we are in an end of the world apocalypse. We've barely seen any infected, which they kind of similarly did in the first season from time to time. I'm glad that we got a little bit more infected, but it's also like we are dealing with two groups that have contained the infected. So right now your issue is the two groups, but I do always enjoy getting a reminder like, oh yeah, by the way, like they're infected hunting people and not just the big hordes. I really appreciated the callback to the stalkers and seeing how dangerous they can really be. So I thought that was great. I thought the suspense was good. My big hang up still is just Ellie and Dina needing to be in the right mindset, and then Tommy showing up ex machina style, like right in time. I was like, all right, calm down. But overall, I thought it was a good, faster paced episode with good action. Um, yeah,
Been kind of like, we really didn't even hit on the Seraphites and how their ritualistic of cleansing the WLF soul,
yeah,
get the evil out, and they seem very kind of euphoric in what they're doing. Yeah, we got a lot of it. We did get a payoff with her finally confronting somebody from that group
yes,
that that tortured, and Nora being the one that held her down, to make her watch. Um, yeah, I mean, that's a good, satisfying kind of place, and the juxtaposition of how dark she's gone in her mind and in her soul on this revenge tour. Or maybe it started when she realized what Joel had done to save her. Maybe that's where the darkness had started, and this just
yeah,
been like his death has just kind of turned it up to 11. And seeing that, like I said, that juxtaposition between her beating Nora and then that flash of 5 years earlier, her being, or at least what we were going to pursue was 5 years earlier, her being so sweet with Joel and being so happy to see him. And then if you did stick around after the credits and watch the trailer for the next season, you see they did a one. I will shout out to whoever did the editing for that trailer, because the very little talking and the flashes you saw it deteriorating.
yes.
So grabbing her arm for the tattoo, and you can tell, like, it's going to be probably a very emotional,
Oh yeah,
gut wrenching episode.
we got
And
the Emmy episode coming up next.
right, and how long that'll be. And again, we don't know if that's going to be the entire episode, or if they're going to be. We don't know how much present day Ellie we're going to get, but at least seeing in that, I think it was a good thing to not end it with her torturing Nora I did appreciate them flashing back to how sweet she was at one point and how much the demon has taken over since then.
Yes.
You do get those moments, those little tiny happy moments with Danny, but it's not enough. They're still rooted in a place where she's much more dark now.
Oh yeah.
Happy at any given moment. Um, yeah, so what would you, the letter grade you give it?
I give it a B. A B my a B between a B minus and a B plus. It wasn't an A, but we got a lot of action. The story progressed, which is again, I felt like it didn't progress as much last episode. So I do appreciate that. I think that's what puts it at a B plus for me. My hang up is just again doubling down on what they did last week. Get your head in the game. It's really what my critique is. Um, yeah, like that's where I'm at. Maybe them being, and I think them being separated now, well, it's a flashback episode, but them being separated is going to give them both time to lock in on what the actual mission is. Like you two together, you two little lovebirds, you were losing sight of the mission.
Maybe
So,
Jesse will like give Dina or yeah, a nice little Danny a nice little talk of
yeah,
like this
yeah. So I give it a B plus.
especially I don't if he finds out that it's his kid. I mean, obviously he's gonna find it. It's his kid and be like, listen, she doesn't get to speak for you completely on this.
I
Like,
wondered if that was going to come up. I was like, is she going to tell him that she's pregnant? And if he finds out, he might just like tie her to the horse and be like, we're going back. What about Ellie? What about her? We're going back.
right? if she lives, if she lives, and yeah, and finding out that like she either lied to Jesse or didn't really get bit by the infected.
No,
So
she got bit. There's no way. There was
yeah,
like four of them, which also he was just like, he kind of brushed that one off. Did you get bit? No, I swear. Okay. And I realized like they were at that point still being chased by the stalkers and Wolf. So he was like, I'm not going to sit here and argue with you. And
right.
then you immediately got put into the jungle or the zoo where, or the park, I guess, where the scars were. So I guess you didn't really have time to
Right.
discuss it, but I was like, there was like when you ran in there, like she was getting jumped, like
Right.
she got bit.
Definitely. Pretty heavily jumped. Like
Yeah,
it's yeah. So I think I'm kind of with you. I think I'm a B plus for the episode because I really do like how compact and concise they made the opening scene with us giving us the scores. Like
for sure.
they didn't have to go into a whole bunch, but it was just enough of a scene to give you one the gut punch of a mother of a parent who did do the opposite of what Joel did and sacrifice her child.
On Mother's Day.
Right. They was HBO loves doing that to me. That's a whole other topic. But like a very, very short scene, very again, even with the scars, very short, very, very impactful. You know, have a lot, you have a lot there to unpack, but it's like you get a whole good glimpse of into what's kind of not a whole 100%, but at least how they view, you know, I mean, we know kind of how what the religious ferocity they have, but at least now we know to what level fervor is
Right.
more. We did see the scores. We got uh, we did get our moment with Norris. So I think overall, I think it'd be plus. I get where you're coming from though, with like the interaction between like, please, just like can we keep the jokes for later? This, you know, like you guys I don't need a joke right now. I need you to pretend as if the WLF is hunting you right now.
Exactly. Yeah. But like you said, because we got so much action and so many good storylines, that's what makes it a B plus for me. Because even though that critique is still there, it wasn't as heavy as it was in the last episode, where like that to me dominated part of the episode. Whereas this one, it was like it was still there, but there was enough happening. And like you said, the first scene and then the scene with the scars in the woods, like you in a 2 to 3 minute scene, they gave you a lot of info to show the seriousness of how they take their religion and cleansing and to how serious the issue is with the spores. Those two scenes were really well done.
So if you're watching and you have ideas of what you think these last few episodes are gonna be. I know we said we know that there's gonna be a flashback. We were promised something with Eugene, so we have a feeling that's gonna be in 6 coming up. Let us know. Other than that, I think we're just you let us know if you think that we'll see the Rat King, if we'll see Abby anymore, even outside of Ellie, like will we just see Abby kind of getting a hint that Ellie is coming, like or what like what your predictions are. But I think we're pretty much on the same page as far as how that goes. It was a good episode. It moved the story forward. We got more glimpses into everything. We find out the bigger threat and the bigger horror of the airborne spores and just about how it's kind of in charge and not really us. I mean, like
Yeah.
so it's
I
coming
mean,
from
the
all.
infected are beating us right now. Like we have it contained, but spores and stalkers, like we are not equipped for that. I'm
Yep.
imagining Wyoming with a bunch of stalkers. Y'all are done for. You barely handled a horde. Imagine 3 stalkers would demolish Wyoming.
Right, and the you don't know how the spore yeah, you don't know how the spores start.
Yeah,
You don't know where is it just because of how the length of like it being the first place, has it just had time to evolve quicker than other places? But I mean, Wyoming is not that much farther off of like it's right, it's not like it's we're talking about like and there's Buffalo, like where
right.
Buffalo on the timeline, like it's within the path of so where's it going? How deep underground can it be you know, I don't know. I don't understand.
Yeah.
So yeah, until next time, next week, episode 6. It's getting exciting. It's getting to the end. And then, follow us on TikTok definitely because Bill's got thoughts on Andor.
I have so many thoughts on that show. That's oh,
It's been
man.
like I'm sorry, but it's one of the best shows of this year.
Yes. Yeah. If we do a recap in December, spoiler alert, Endor will be on my list.
Yeah, but it's hands down. It's one of the best shows for the year. I can't believe that there's still. I was stunned that episode 9 could have been a finale
Easily,
easily,
very easily could have been the finale.
and I can't wait to see where 10, 11, 12 bring us. So
Yeah.
I know this is a little bit of a shorter one, but I am off to see Mission Impossible 32 and trying to see if Ethan Hunt actually dies, hands over the reins, fakes his death,
Is he gonna hand over the reins to what's his face?
and how
Yeah.
or shoot at this point Lewis Pullman. I mean, like he's another one of
You
his.
mean Bob? They'll make him Bob. That'll be his character in Mission Impossible. They will just name him Bob. He's like, can we not?
Little
Like,
did
Mom,
we
this
know
is
that when Tom Cruise was doing Top Gun Maverick, that he was creating his own rat pack of kids to
yeah.
take. Let's get Danny Ramirez, who's
Oh yeah.
like
Jeez, I forgot about that.
yeah,
Man.
Mark Barbaro did a Complete Unknown with
Yeah.
TV show. Yeah, no, he created a whole group of kids there. So we're gonna bring this to a close, and we will talk to you all later. Bye.